But as Zach alluded to earlier, we have to get to the big event of the weekend, and that is the 2020 NFL Draft is now in the books. I don't know about you guys. First of all, the format. I loved the virtual format. I don't need the pageantry of.
I liked it.
Like it, and I
loved
loved it.
It went quick.
Loved it.
I felt like it went quick. Like the pace was good.
Can I ask a question?
Not Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace wasn't good. The pace of the draft was good.
Was the same amount of clock like for each team? Was it the same or was it shorter because it was online?
I think it was the same, but they were giving a little.
There was a lot less bullshit to deal with. I think.
Yeah, and it felt like there was less trades too.
What was up with Roger? Dude, Roger Goodell was in his basement with a camera, and he seemed like he was so nervous. Like he was more nervous there than he was like in front of all the fans getting booed. Like, what was up with like awkward, like sitting in the chair?
Awkward is the perfect word.
Not being able to read the teleprompter right, and like it was just weird. Very weird.
Egging the virtual crowd on to boo him was super weird.
He has no people skills whatsoever.
No.
None.
He's bad at speaking.
Oh, awful. His personality stinks. That's all this thing. Would you take his personality to get his paycheck? Because we know how much he makes, and it's a lot of money.
Is there a chance that we could see some foreshadowing that later tonight in maybe another segment of our fine show that you might hear Roger Goodell's name pop up again?
Yeah, you could. Another thing was, yes, I understand some of the stories were sad and sentimental, but it seemed like they kept trying to make me cry after every single pick.
God,
and I understand, like, yes, you want to get some of the stories out, and everyone has.
This guy's dog died in third grade. It was really hard for him.
But it was like every single pick. It was like another, like they would say the name of the pick, they would kind of say something, and then it would just get like sad music. Like I'm like, come on, like, I mean, like I understand you got to get across some of the stories, but like we're trying to get, like, we're in the middle of this whole coronavirus, like. Can we get some uplifting stuff somewhere?
Yes.
I mean, like, it was just
it was weird. It was odd. Every pick was like, this guy got drafted, and here's the obituary for his entire family. It's like, give me a break.
I think the kid's dad died in a boating accident, and then his brother got struck by lightning. I'm like,
enough
that's
already.
Horrible, obviously, but like, and it wasn't like you said. It was like back to back, like every single time. It was like, oh, this kid's grandma died last week, or this kid's, girlfriend died in the car. I'm like, good God, like, do we have to just touch on everyone? Like, it was just a little. Yes,
it was just much.
Exactly.
But you were right, Boomy. I loved the way, like, it wasn't so much built up to it. Like, there was just everyone could be calm, cool, collected at home. You didn't have, like, the interviews seemed like they were better because you're kind of sitting in your house. You feel more comfortable with everything. So I thought it was pretty smooth for what it could have, like, a lot of things could have gone wrong. For being a first time that's ever happened, like it went smooth.
Definitely. Zach, go ahead and get into it. The Bears draft.
Okay, so I apologize if I mess any names up. I'm not good with names. I'm sorry. But they got tight end Cole Kemet, Notre Dame, round 2, pick 43. They got defensive back Jalen Johnson from Utah, round 2, pick 50. And then they got outside linebacker Travis Gibson, Tulsa, the 5th round, 155, defensive back Kindley Vildor, Georgia Southern, round 5, 163. I sound like I am very boring right now. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney, Tulane, round 5, 173. And then 2 offensive linemen. We took them finally in the 7th round. We took Arlington Hambright, Colorado, and LaChavis Simmons from Tennessee State in the 7th round there. Finally, we got some offensive line help. Really, truthfully, it's hard because you don't know what's going to happen. They have now 10 tight ends. We could have gotten, is it Delbit?
Delpit.
Yeah, Grant Delpit, the safety.
Yeah,
Literally right
from
after
LSU. The two picks that I thought we should have gotten in that spot went 1-2 right after. And then we got Jalen Johnson, who I think is a steal. Boy, Jalen Johnson, he played his whole last season with Utah. I think with something something torn
shoulder injury.
Oh, shoulder injury. So it was a labor. It was a labor.
Injury.
And he was second team. Would be second team Pac-12. And that's just the upside of it and everything. I think that's a great pick right there. And then they kind of went with it. I think they got wide receiver, they got some defensive help, and then they finally got the O-line. Matt, I need to know your thoughts. I know you're not too happy with everything.
Well, as I said last week, I wanted Delpit bad, and they had a chance. He was right there for the taking, and they didn't take him. He went the next pick. They also had a chance they could have taken Antoine Winfield Jr. right after him. He went right after Delpit. Winfield went. So, like you said, they took Kemet with the first pick in the second round that they had, first pick of the draft that they had, and I think having the 11th tight end on the roster now is not necessarily what you needed when you could have had a starting safety to pair with. Like I said, I think Jalen Johnson was a great pick from Utah, the corner. I think he was a really solid pick. He could step in and probably start this year. Opposite Fuller, I think is a good fit for their system. Delpit alongside Eddie Jackson would I think have been the absolute perfect fit to rebuild that secondary with Clinton Dix gone, with Prince Amukamara gone. Would have been a seamless transition to those two guys. I think it's the perfect fit, and they didn't do it, so that's why it's frustrating to me. Outside of that, I don't have any issue with what they took in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round. At that point, you're taking guys that you think are hopefully going to make an impact at the next level. If they do, anything you get from them is gravy, really, in the 5th round and beyond. So I'm not going to complain too much there. I think it was big to get the offensive lineman, like you said, Zach.
This might be a dumb question, but do you think the Bears could have went Delpit in that first pick, and then do you think Kemet would have still been there at, 50 or 53 or whatever?
For me, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have rather had Johnson over Kemet anyway. Johnson's a stud. Yeah. I mean, I think you really could have just completely rebuilt your secondary on the fly, which is exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, and
you're still taking the best player available.
Yeah, in 7 picks, you could fix that secondary right there. You wouldn't fix, but you help it a lot. I'm not saying, like I said, not saying that Cole Kemet's not going to be a good player. They're obviously not going to have 10. Let's hope it's not obvious. Let's hope it's obvious that they're not going to have 10 tight ends on the depth chart when the season starts. But it's not a spot where we thought we were going to fill up there in that first pick. It was very. You hate to say it was very Ryan Pace-like.
It was. That said it perfectly. You nailed it right there. That's a perfect way to put it. I do got to transition real quick, though, because can we talk about the other team in the NFC North that may have possibly had an even worse draft than the Bears did?
Not true. Because, and you will not convince me otherwise.
I know it ain't my team, so that's fine.
It was not your team, P-Goy. It was Boomy's team. Because here's what I want to say about that. Is your 2 best players last year when you went to the NFC title game were Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. And you took a quarterback and you took a running back with your first 2 picks.
Yeah, no kidding, because you have a 36-year-old quarterback who has 2 years left and could easily just walk away. You're grooming a quarterback of the future. Aaron Jones' contract is up at the end of this year. He's going to want a huge payday, so you have to bring in another running back that's going to replace him. I don't mind those at all. I'll be very honest. I don't mind those at all.
No. You could have gotten those guys. You could have gotten that shit later.
If you look at who got drafted after the Packers pick, there wasn't another wide receiver until the second round. They didn't have guys slotted.
They're going to keep triple teaming Devontae Adams.
No, you don't do it because you want to make your quarterback happy. The first time you have drafted
it's not going to piss Aaron Rodgers off. It's not going to happen. People got to stop with that BS.
You please let me talk. You haven't drafted a skills position player in the first round in 15 years. And the first guy you get is Jordan Love, a quarterback. You don't even go out and get help for the quarterback that you still think that is going to win you games.
Sidebar, I like Jordan Love. I like Jordan Love going to the draft. Just because he went to the Packers, I can't say I hate it. I just cannot believe they did that there.
I
was very surprised. Don't get me wrong, but I still think I truly think that Rodgers maybe
didn't talk to him. Didn't tell him.
You don't know that.
I do know that he was on the Pat McAfee show.
Like he's gonna be so pissed about this. He doesn't care. He knows he's the best quarterback. He maybe has 2 years.
He's gonna walk away and say, "Hey, Boomy, I'm not really mad about this at
all."
He
was quoted last week saying it.
Well, didn't they draft him like 3 days ago?
Dude, he was quoted last week about them bringing other quarterbacks in, and he said he didn't care if the Packers drafted them.
I'm not saying he's mad about the quarterback being drafted. I'm thinking he's mad about what they could have got in that spot instead of the quarterback. I don't think he gives a shit about the quarterback. I'm not saying he cares.
I totally agree with that.
No one's going to come in and take his job. No one's coming in and taking Aaron Rodgers' job. There's very few starters in the league that could even try and come get his job right now. Anyway, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he wanted some more help around him with that pick instead of that pick in that spot.
I'm really disappointed that they didn't trade up into this early second round. You saw like 5 picks go in the first 12, and the Packers took 9 players in this draft. They had the draft picks. They could have done that. That did make me mad that they didn't go out and do that. But I
finally are done with the Raiders picks too.
The only thing too is they took a running back who was driven into the ground at Boston College too.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get any miles on him until not this year, but the following year. So he's going to have time.
The one point I'll give you too is that with Aaron Jones' contract being up after this year, that's definitely something
the running backs. But
the thing is, you can do that next year, and you can plug in a rookie and just go. Exactly. That's the only thing with running backs. So I don't think you need to do it a year early with running backs. I'm fine doing it a year early with a quarterback or maybe a wide receiver. Something that doesn't necessarily have that instant impact like a running back can, but I don't know. I do see your point about preparing for the future. I just think Zach's spot on with the fact that Aaron Rodgers deserves another option to throw to go opposite Davante Adams. He deserves that. He's got enough talent still left in the tank. He's got enough, there's still enough tread left to go that you give him another option with Davante Adams. Adams is a bona fide number 1 receiver. You give him another secondary option that can take some of the stress away. That guy can just explode.
And the other thing that made me mad, and they did it a little bit later, was the Packers' defense was pretty good last year, except for in the running game. And they didn't pick up a defensive tackle. They picked up an edge rusher in the 7th, and I think they picked up another defensive. They picked up a linebacker in the 5th. But it's like, guys, you got to, at some point, you got to be able to stop the run and not just plug. I do like the tight end they took, going back to your point about giving him some options, and obviously with Jimmy Graham leaving. So you'll have the new rookie from Cincinnati as well as Mercedes Lewis. So you at least give him another target on the tight end. But in the same breath, Rodgers has never been one to throw to a tight end. And yes, I absolutely get both sides of it. But I also get where the front office is talking about looking, at the future and the possibility that, even after this year, Aaron Rodgers is going to be 37 years old. He could easily just say, hey, I'm hanging him up.
I would love that.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, how the hell is Mercedes Lewis still in the NFL, by the way?
That's crazy.
Bro, I'm pretty sure he's my dad's age.
That's an awesome name.
A lot of miles on
Mercedes. He's been playing in the NFL forever.
And then can we not talk about the Vikings because they had a
very
really
good
draft.
They had a great draft. I'm very, very pleased with that. Like they had clearly defined needs of wide receiver and defensive back and just defense in general. And their first 8 picks were receiver, corner, tackle, corner, DN, D tackle, linebacker, corner, receiver. So they had a really good draft.
Can I extinguish that flame real quick?
No.
Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer.
Oh, no, it's not Zimmer. He's a stud.
But no, I completely.
It was a great draft for them. Honestly, I totally agree.
It was good. I'm pretty pumped.
I get your guys' points on the Packers. I completely understand both sides, but I actually like the fact that they're looking forward in the possibility in 12 months that they don't have if they don't make these picks, that you don't have a quarterback. Because if right now, at the end of next year, if Aaron Rodgers retires, your quarterback is, I don't even know. Couldn't even tell you.
Can we get Hundley back? Bring Hundley back. I want that.
Yes, please.
Who's that kid they traded from Cincinnati that everybody thought he went to Florida and then finished at Notre? Deshaun Kaiser.
Oh,
I don't know if
God.
Oh, I don't think he's on the roster anymore.
He was last year.
If Deshaun Kaiser was the possibility to be our
It was
quarterback.
bad.
I would love that.
They did pick up. I've already seen 2 wide receivers in the undrafted free agent part, so we'll see where things go. But I mean, looking, and I'm not just looking at next year, and I completely understand where everybody comes from saying, you're 1 game away from the Super Bowl. I get that, but also at the same time, you have to look at the possibility of not having your 2 most important positions on the football field. Yeah. 12 months from now. So
it's just awesome that the Bears were not the only team that fucked up the draft in the NFC North. And it's misery loves company. That's all.
And the Las Vegas Raiders will always exist. So you got we all got a buffer there.
Yeah, but anybody who wants to say Henry Ruggs is Darius Hayward-Bay is out of their mind, because Ruggs is by far and away a better receiver than Darius Hayward-Bay was.
Absolutely.
And the Bears, I don't know. They had the first pick was a little weird, but overall, they filled some needs. You'd like to see more, but we move on.
I would rather him take a Jalen Hurts over Kemet, to be perfectly honest.
I was going to ask about that.
That would have been interesting. At
least you're thinking ahead at that point. You don't have a quarterback really on your roster. I mean, Nick Foles is your guy, whatever, but
it's just weird. Like, you had 9 tight ends, and you thought maybe we should draft one first.
Let's get one more.
Like I tweeted, they could start their own beer league softball team and probably be pretty successful.
Yeah, saw that.
All right, that's the draft recap.